Oh my God.
Marcus was 16 years old. Something that should never have been there. On that cold morning in December. What are you?
Into someone who would make the world notice him.
He was just doing what he always did on winter mornings, walking across the frozen field behind his family's farm to check on the animals. The snow was very deep that day. It went up to Marcus's knees, and each step he took was hard work. The wind was blowing hard, and the cold was so sharp it hurt to breathe. Marcus had lived on this farm his whole life. He was 16 now, but he felt much older. Life had made him grow up fast. His father had died 3 years ago. Since that day, everything had been different. Everything had been harder. His mother worked 2 jobs now. She left the house early in the morning and came back very late at night. She was tired all the time. His older sister had gone away to college in the city and did not come back much anymore. That left Marcus alone on the farm. He had to do all the work by himself. He had to feed the chickens, care for the old horse named Duke, fix things when they broke, and try to keep the farm running. It was too much work for one boy, but nobody else was there to help him. Marcus did not have many friends at school anymore. He was too busy with the farm work. By the time he finished school and finished his chores, he was too tired to do anything else. His classmates would talk about parties and fun things they did on weekends, but Marcus would just listen. He never had time for parties. He never had time for anything that was not work. Sometimes he felt like his heart was frozen, like he could not feel happy anymore. The farm was quiet. The house was quiet. His life was quiet in a way that felt lonely and empty. But on this particular morning, the quiet would break. Marcus was walking toward the back of the farm when he noticed something strange. At first, he thought it was just the snow playing tricks on his eyes. The snow was so white and bright that sometimes he saw things that were not really there. But something made him stop walking. Something made his heart beat faster. He stood very still and looked toward the middle of the frozen field. There was something there. Something tall. Something brown. Something that did not belong on a Pennsylvania farm in the middle of winter. Marcus rubbed his eyes. He thought maybe he was sick. Maybe the cold had hurt his brain. Maybe he was dreaming and would wake up any second. But when he opened his eyes again, it was still there. It was real. Standing alone in the middle of a field of white snow, shaking and looking completely lost, was a baby giraffe. For a long moment, Marcus could not move. His mind could not understand what his eyes were seeing. A giraffe. Not a picture of a giraffe. Not a toy giraffe. A real, living, breathing baby giraffe was standing in the snow on his family's farm. It seemed impossible. It seemed like something from a dream or a movie, not something from real life. The giraffe was very young. Marcus could tell by looking at it. It could not have been more than a few months old. Its long legs were shaking from the cold. Its whole body was shaking. The snow covered its head and its long neck. Marcus could see that the animal was scared, very scared. The giraffe's eyes were wide and filled with fear. Then Marcus remembered something. A few weeks ago, he had heard something on the radio while working in the barn. There had been a truck accident on the highway. The truck had been carrying animals. It was taking them to a wildlife center far away. The truck had skidded on the ice during a storm. The news said that most of the animals had been found and taken back, but there had been some confusion. Some animals had run away, some animals had been lost. Marcus had not thought much about it at the time. He had other things to worry about. But now, Standing in the snow, looking at this impossible baby giraffe, he understood. This animal must have escaped from that truck. Somehow it had walked or run across the frozen land for many miles. Somehow it had found its way to his farm. How long had it been walking in this cold? How had it survived at all? The giraffe made a sound. It was not loud. It was almost like a cry. It was a sound that said, "I am lost. I am scared. I need help." The giraffe looked right at Marcus. Their eyes met across the white snow. In that moment, something changed inside the boy. Marcus felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt like his heart was waking up. He felt like something was calling to him, asking him to do something. This animal was in trouble. This animal was going to die if somebody did not help it right now. Out here in the cold, without shelter, without food, without any knowledge of where it was, this baby giraffe would not live through the night. Marcus made a decision in that moment. It was a decision that he made without thinking, without planning, without understanding what it would mean for his life. He decided that he would save this giraffe. No matter what, no matter how hard it would be, no matter what he would have to do or hide or risk, he would save this creature's life. He took off his jacket and held it in his hands. Very slowly, very carefully, he walked toward the giraffe. He did not run. He did not make any sudden movements. He spoke in a very soft voice. "It is okay," he said. "It is okay. I will help you. You are going to be fine." The giraffe watched him come closer. It was still shaking. It made another crying sound. Marcus kept talking in his soft voice. He kept moving slowly forward. When he was close enough, he wrapped his jacket around the giraffe's body. The animal was very cold. It was so cold that Marcus could feel the chill coming from it. Marcus looked into the giraffe's eyes. In those eyes, he saw fear, but he also saw something else. He saw hope. He saw a small baby animal that believed this boy might help it. "I am going to keep you safe," Marcus promised. He did not know how he would do it. He did not know what giraffes needed. He did not know how to hide something so big and unusual from his mother and from the rest of the world. But he knew that he would figure it out. He would find a way. And in that moment, Marcus gave the giraffe a name. "You are Hope," he said. "Your name is Hope, and I am going to make sure you live." The baby giraffe looked at Marcus. It seemed like the animal understood. It seemed like the giraffe knew that this boy was different, that this boy would not let her die, that this boy would do anything to keep her alive. The giraffe stopped shaking for just a moment. It was a small thing, but it meant everything. Marcus knew his life had just changed. He did not know how much. He did not know that this moment would ripple out and touch thousands of people. He did not know that the choice he was making right now would create something beautiful and important and lasting. He only knew that he could not walk away. He could not let this creature die. So Marcus began the work that would change everything. And it all started with a single decision made in the snow on a cold winter morning.
Getting Hope to the barn was the hardest thing Marcus had ever done in his life. It was much harder than he had thought it would be. Hope could barely walk. Her long, thin legs were shaking so badly that she could hardly stand up. Every time she tried to move, her legs would slide in the snow. Marcus had to hold her up. He had to practically carry her, even though she was already very big and heavy for a baby animal. Marcus was not very big himself. He was thin from years of working hard and not eating enough. But he found strength inside himself that he did not know he had. The wind was blowing harder now. The temperature was dropping even lower. Marcus's thin jacket was wrapped around Hope, but he had nothing to keep himself warm. The snow was getting deeper. The sky was turning a darker shade of gray. Marcus knew that a big storm was coming. He could feel it in the air. He could see it in the way the clouds were moving. If he did not get Hope to shelter soon, they would both be in terrible danger. "Come on, Hope," Marcus said over and over again. "You can do this. Just a little bit farther. We're almost there." Marcus was not even sure if Hope could understand his words, but his voice seemed to calm her. Every time he spoke, the giraffe would try harder to move her legs. Hope seemed to understand that this boy was trying to help her. There was a trust between them already, even though they had only known each other for a few minutes. It was strange and wonderful and scary all at the same time. It took almost an hour to walk from the middle of the field to the barn. In normal conditions, it would have taken only 10 minutes. But with Hope moving so slowly and both of them fighting against the cold and the snow, it felt like it took forever. Marcus's fingers and toes went numb. His teeth were chattering so hard that he thought they might break. His whole body was shaking from the cold. But he did not stop. Every time he thought about stopping, he looked at Hope's scared face, and he found the strength to keep going. When they finally reached the barn, both Marcus and Hope collapsed onto the ground. They were both breathing very hard. Marcus's lungs hurt from the cold air. Hope was making strange sounds, almost like she was crying. Marcus sat in the snow next to the giraffe and wrapped his arms around her neck. He was crying too, though he did not realize it at first. Tears were running down his cold face. His whole body was shaking. For a long time, neither of them moved. They just sat together in the coal barn, trying to catch their breath, trying to stay alive. Marcus realized that they had made it. They had survived the walk. Hope was safe now. At least for the moment, she was safe. But Marcus knew that getting her to the barn was only the beginning. The real work was just starting. Inside the barn, it was warmer than outside, but it was still very cold. Marcus had an old blanket that he used sometimes when he was working late. He had some straw piled in one corner where he would sometimes sit and rest. He gathered every blanket he could find in the barn. He piled the straw as high as he could. He made a nest for Hope in the warmest corner of the barn, the corner that was protected from the wind and as far away from the cold as possible. Hope did not move for a long time. She just lay there in the nest of blankets and straw, her sides moving up and down as she breathed. Her eyes were open, but they seemed empty. Marcus was terrified. He thought maybe Hope was dying. Maybe she had been outside in the cold for too long. Maybe he had not gotten her to shelter fast enough. Marcus did not sleep that night. He could not sleep. He sat next to Hope, watching her, making sure she was still breathing. Sometimes he would put his hand on her side to feel her heartbeat. It was there, steady and strong, even though the rest of her seemed so weak. But Hope was not eating. That was the problem. Marcus did not know what to do. What did giraffes eat? He had no idea. He ran to the house and looked through the kitchen. He found bottles of warm water. He found milk. He found grain from the storage shed. He mixed different things together, trying to create something that a baby giraffe might eat. He tried to get Hope to drink some warm water. He held the bottle near her mouth, but she would not drink. He tried warm milk. She would not drink that either. Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. What if Hope would not eat? What if she was too sick or too scared to eat? What if she died anyway, even though he had saved her? Marcus spent the entire night trying different things. He mixed milk and water. He made a paste from grain. He found some leaves in storage that he thought might be something a giraffe would eat. Nothing worked. Hope just lay there, not moving, not eating, not responding. But then, just as the sun was beginning to come up, something changed. Hope opened her eyes wider. She looked at Marcus, and very slowly, very carefully, she tried to drink some of the warm water that he was offering her. It was only a little bit, but she drank it. Marcus felt joy burst through his chest like an explosion. She had drunk something. She was trying. She was still fighting to stay alive. The next morning came, and Hope was still alive. Marcus could not believe it. He had been so sure that she would not survive the night. But she had. She was weak and tired and sick, but she was alive. Her fever was very high. Marcus could feel the heat coming from her body when he touched her. He knew that sick animals sometimes died from fever. He did not know what to do. That is when Marcus made an important decision. He could call the police. He could tell the wildlife people about Hope. He could tell his mother. But if he did any of those things, he would lose her. They would come and take Hope away. They would put her somewhere else. They would separate him from the giraffe that he had already started to love. So Marcus made a choice that surprised even himself. He decided to lie. He decided to keep Hope a secret. He decided that he would figure out how to keep her alive, no matter what it took. That afternoon, when his mother called the house to check on him, Marcus answered the phone and lied. "Everything is fine," he said. "The farm is good. I am managing everything. You do not need to worry about anything." His mother was too busy and too tired to ask many questions. She believed him. She told him she would be home late again, maybe not until the next night. Marcus told her that was okay. That was perfect, actually. That gave him more time with Hope. That gave him more time to figure out how to save her life. Marcus looked at the giraffe lying in the blankets and straw. He made a promise to himself and to Hope. He would not let her die. He would not give up. He would learn everything he needed to know to keep her alive. He would become whatever kind of doctor or caretaker a baby giraffe needed. He would do whatever it took. And his life, from that moment on, belonged to Hope. 3 weeks had passed since Marcus found Hope in the snow. 3 weeks of keeping the biggest secret of his life. 3 weeks of living in 2 different worlds at the same time. On the outside, Marcus was a normal 16-year-old boy. He went to school. He did his homework. He pretended that everything was fine. But on the inside, everything had changed. Every moment that he was not at school, he was thinking about Hope. Every moment that he was supposed to be sleeping, he was in the barn, checking on her, making sure she was still alive. Hope was getting stronger. Her fever had finally broken on the 5th day. After that, she had started eating more. Marcus had spent hours researching on the old computer in the house, reading everything he could find about baby giraffes. He had learned what they ate. He had learned how to mix the right food. He had learned what medicines might help if they got sick. He had become something like a doctor and a parent and a best friend all at the same time. Every morning before school, Marcus would wake up very early. He would sneak out to the barn and spend time with Hope. He would clear space. He would bring her fresh water and food. He would talk to her and touch her neck and tell her that everything would be okay. Hope would recognize him now. When she heard his footsteps, she would call out to him. That strange, creaking sound that she made was like music to Marcus's ears. It meant that she was alive. It meant that she was getting better. But keeping the secret was getting harder and harder. Marcus's mother had started to notice that something was different about him. She was exhausted from working 2 jobs, but even in her exhaustion, a mother can sense when something is wrong with her child. She would ask him questions. Marcus, why are you spending so much time in the barn? Are you okay? Is everything fine with the animals? Marcus would tell her that Duke needed extra care because he was getting old. He would tell her that he was just doing extra chores. He would tell her lies, and every lie made him feel worse. His sister called from the city one night. His mother put him on the phone. How are you doing? His sister asked. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you eating enough? Marcus told her he was fine. He told her everything was normal. But his voice sounded strange, even to his own ears. He sounded like someone who was hiding something very big. His sister seemed to know something was different, but she did not push him to tell her the truth. She just told him to call her if he needed to talk to someone. At school, Marcus's best friend Travis had started to notice things too. Travis was worried about Marcus. For the past few weeks, Marcus had not been acting like himself. He was tired all the time. He was distant. He would not go to the movies or hang out after school. He would just go home and disappear into the barn. Travis was the kind of friend who did not give up on people he cared about. He showed up at the farm one afternoon after school. Marcus felt his heart start to beat very fast when he saw Travis's truck driving up to the house. He knew that if Travis got too close to the barn, everything would be over. The secret would be discovered. Everything would change. Hey man, Travis called out. I came to help you with chores. I have not seen you in forever. We should work on the fence in the back. It looks like it is falling apart. Marcus tried to keep Travis away from the barn. He suggested they work on other things. He suggested they go inside and eat something. He suggested they work on the fence on the other side of the property. But Travis was friendly and persistent. He just wanted to spend time with his friend. He did not understand why Marcus was acting so weird and trying to keep him away from the barn. Come on, let's just go check out what you've been doing with the animals, Travis said. Maybe I can help you with whatever you are working on. Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. He did not know what to do. He could not let Travis go to the barn. But he also could not stop his friend without making it seem even more suspicious. So Marcus just followed Travis, his heart pounding, his hands shaking, knowing that this moment was the end of his secret. They walked to the barn. Travis opened the door, and then Travis screamed. It was a scream of pure shock and disbelief. For a moment, nobody moved. Travis just stood there, staring at Hope, who was standing in the corner of the barn. Hope had grown a lot in 3 weeks. She was much taller now. She was much stronger. But she was still a baby giraffe, and she was standing in Marcus's barn which made absolutely no sense to anyone. What? What? I asked that. Travis yelled, pointing at Hope. Marcus felt something break inside his chest. The secret was out. Everything was over. He could not keep lying anymore. He could not keep pretending. So Marcus told Travis everything. He told him about the truck accident on the highway. He told him about finding Hope in the snow. He told him about keeping her alive in the barn. He told him about the lies he had been telling his mother and his family. He told him about the research he had done and the medicine he had given Hope. He told him everything. Travis listened with his mouth open. He did not say anything at first. He just looked at Hope and then back at Marcus. Then he walked slowly into the barn and reached out his hand to Hope. The giraffe lowered her head, and Travis touched her neck. When he looked back at Marcus, tears were running down his face. "This is the most incredible thing I have ever seen," Travis whispered. Then he said something that changed everything. "Marcus, we have to tell people about her. This is too big to hide. People need to know what you did. People need to know that you saved her life." Marcus felt all his fear rush out of him at once. For weeks, he had been terrified that when the secret came out, people would be angry. People would take Hope away. People would tell him he did a bad thing. But Travis was right. This was something good. This was something amazing. This was a story that the world needed to hear. The next morning, Marcus made the phone call that would change his entire life. He called the wildlife sanctuary that had been searching for the missing giraffe. He told them where Hope was. He told them what he had done. He waited for them to be angry or disappointed. But instead, there was only wonder in their voice. "You saved her life," the person on the phone said. "Without you, she would have died. You were a hero." Marcus did not feel like a hero. He just felt like a boy who could not turn away from something that needed help. But as he hung up the phone and looked at Hope through the barn window, he understood that something incredible was about to happen. His secret was about to become known to the entire world, and nothing would ever be the same again. Within 2 hours of Marcus making the phone call, 3 large trucks pulled up to his family's farm. Men and women in uniforms got out of the trucks. They were veterinarians and wildlife experts from the sanctuary that had been looking for Hope for weeks. They were surprised to see a farm like this. They were not expecting to find the missing baby giraffe in a barn in the middle of the countryside. But when they opened the barn door and saw Hope, everything changed. The lead veterinarian, a woman named Dr. Sarah Chun, walked slowly toward Hope. She was very careful and gentle. Hope did not seem scared. She had learned to trust humans because of Marcus. She had learned that humans could be kind and caring and helpful. When Dr. Chun put her hand on Hope's side and felt how warm and strong she was, tears came to her eyes. "This is amazing," Dr. Chun said quietly. "This baby giraffe should be dead. She should have died the first night she was exposed to this cold. But she is alive. She is healthy. Her fever is gone. She is strong." She turned to look at Marcus. Marcus was standing to the side of the barn, feeling shy and nervous. He did not think he had done anything special. He had just done what his heart told him to do. "You saved her life," Dr. Chin said, walking over to Marcus. "Do you understand that? Without you, this animal would be dead. You were a hero." Marcus did not feel like a hero. He felt like a regular boy who had just loved an animal and wanted to keep her alive. But the veterinarians checked Hope over and over again. They gave her medicine. They took blood samples. They examined her legs and her neck and her heart. Everything they found was good. Everything they found was healthy. "How did you keep her alive?" asked another veterinarian, a man named Dr. James Rodriguez. "What did you feed her? What medicine did you give her?" Marcus explained everything. He told them about the research he had done on the computer. He told them about the mixture of milk and grain he had created. He told them about the blankets and the straw. He told them that he had kept her warm and safe and loved. He told them that he had talked to her and touched her and promised her that she would be okay. The veterinarians listened to every word. They were amazed at how much Marcus knew, at how carefully he had taken care of Hope, at how much love he had put into keeping this animal alive. "You need to tell this story," Dr. Chun said to Marcus. "People need to know what you did. This is not just about saving one giraffe. This is about showing the world that one person can make a difference. This is about showing young people that they can do incredible things." Marcus did not know what she meant at first, but by that evening, he would understand. The news traveled fast. One of the veterinarians called the local newspaper. By the next morning, reporters were coming to the farm. They wanted to interview Marcus. They wanted to take pictures of Hope. They wanted to hear the story of the boy who saved the giraffe. Marcus's mother came home from work that morning to find her farm full of reporters and camera people. She was shocked and confused at first, but when she learned what Marcus had done, what he had been doing for the past 3 weeks, she started to cry. She held Marcus and told him how proud she was of him. She told him that his father would have been proud too. That evening, Marcus was on the local news. His picture was in the newspaper. The story spread from the local news to the state news to the national news. By the next day, people all over the country were hearing about the boy who found a baby giraffe in the snow and saved her life. The sanctuary made an announcement. They asked Marcus if he would be willing to work with them. They wanted him to continue caring for Hope. They wanted him to be part of her recovery and rehabilitation. They offered to pay him. They offered him a job when he was old enough. But more importantly, they told Marcus something that changed how he thought about his future. They told him that his love for animals and his willingness to do hard work made him perfect for a career in wildlife conservation. They told him that he could dedicate his life to saving animals. He could become a veterinarian. He could become a wildlife expert. He could make a real difference in the world. For the first time since his father had died, Marcus felt like his future meant something. For the first time, he felt like his life had purpose. For the first time, he felt like the sadness that had been inside him could transform into something beautiful and meaningful. Within a week, the farm became famous. Visitors started coming from all over. They wanted to see the giraffe. They wanted to see the boy who saved her. At first, Marcus was very nervous about all the attention. He did not like being the center of attention. He did not like people taking his picture and asking him questions. But then something beautiful started to happen. People began to share their own stories. Visitors would tell Marcus about times when they had wanted to help someone or something but felt too scared or too small to make a difference. They would say that Marcus's story had inspired them. They would say that seeing what one boy could do had made them believe that they could do something important too. A woman told him that his story had inspired her to volunteer at an animal shelter. A young girl told him that she had decided to study biology because of him. An older man told him that Marcus had reminded him that it is never too late to care about something bigger than yourself. The sanctuary began planning to build a larger facility on Marcus's farm. They wanted to create an education center where people could learn about wildlife conservation. They wanted visitors to be able to see Hope and to learn about the importance of protecting animals and nature. The money from visitors would help save the farm. The money would help support Marcus's family. His mother quit one of her jobs. His sister came home from the city to help with a new project. The farm, which had felt like a burden for so many years, suddenly felt like a blessing. It felt like a place where something good was growing, where something important was being built. One evening, Marcus stood in the barn with Hope. The giraffe was much bigger now. She was much stronger. She had fully recovered from her experience in the cold. Marcus placed his hand on her neck and looked into her eyes. "You changed my life," Marcus whispered to Hope. "You came to me when I needed you most. You gave me a reason to believe in myself again." Hope made her strange creaking sound, the sound that had first caught Marcus's attention on that frozen morning. It was a sound of recognition, a sound of love, a sound that said, "You are my person, and I am grateful for you." Marcus understood that everything had changed. His life would never be ordinary again. But that was not a bad thing. It was the best thing that had ever happened to him. And it had all started with the decision to say yes to an impossible creature on an impossible night. It had all started with one boy deciding that love was more important than fear, and that saving a life was the most important work in the world. 15 years had passed since that cold winter morning when Marcus found Hope in the snow. Marcus was now 31 years old. He was no longer a lonely, sad teenager working alone on his family's farm. He was a successful wildlife expert. He had gone to college and studied animal science and conservation. He had earned certifications and degrees. He had become exactly what Dr. Chun had told him he could become. But on this particular morning, standing in the large barn that the sanctuary had built, Marcus felt like that same 16-year-old boy. He felt the same love, the same wonder, the same sense that he was witnessing something miraculous. Because standing in front of him was Hope. The baby giraffe that he had found all those years ago was now a beautiful, strong adult giraffe. She was 18 feet tall. Her body was powerful and graceful. Her eyes were warm and intelligent. Hope was 20 years old now. In the wild, giraffes usually lived only about 25 years. But in sanctuaries where they were well cared for and protected, they often lived longer. Hope had lived a long and healthy life, and most of that was because of the boy who had refused to let her die on that frozen farm. Marcus placed his hand on Hope's neck. She lowered her head toward him, a gesture of affection that she had learned to make when she was a baby. That gesture had never changed. Even though she was massive and powerful, she was still gentle with Marcus. She still recognized him as her person, as the one who had saved her life. "Good morning, Hope," Marcus said softly. "Do you remember? Today is the day." Hope made her strange creaking sound. It was a sound that thousands of people had now heard. It was a sound that was famous. It was a sound that had touched the hearts of millions of people around the world. Today was the official opening of the Marcus and Hope Wildlife Education Center. It was a massive facility built on the land where Marcus's family farm had stood. The old barn was still there, preserved as a historical landmark. The farmhouse had been turned into a museum that told the story of Marcus and Hope. But the new center was state-of-the-art. It had classrooms and laboratories. It had habitats for animals that had been rescued. It had a special area where Hope lived, where visitors could see her and learn about wildlife conservation. Over the past 15 years, the story of Marcus and Hope had inspired a movement. It had inspired thousands of people to dedicate their lives to protecting animals and nature. Universities had created scholarships in Marcus's name for students who wanted to study wildlife conservation. Conservation organizations around the world had used Marcus's story to teach people about compassion and responsibility. But the impact was much bigger than just that. Because of Marcus and Hope's story, 4 new wildlife sanctuaries had been built in different parts of the country. Each one had been inspired by the success of the original sanctuary on Marcus's farm. Each one had saved thousands of animals. Each one had educated millions of visitors about the importance of protecting wildlife. Laws had been changed because of Marcus's advocacy. He had worked with government officials to create stronger protections for endangered animals. He had spoken to Congress about climate change and habitat destruction. He had become a voice for the voiceless, speaking for the animals that could not speak for themselves. But today was about something more personal. Today was the day when Marcus would introduce a group of young people to Hope. These were young people who had been inspired by Marcus and Hope's story to dedicate themselves to conservation work. They were from all over the world. Some were from Africa, where giraffes lived in the wild. Some were from Asia. Some were from Europe and South America. They had all come to meet Hope in person, to see the animal that had changed their lives. Marcus walked these young people through the education center. He showed them the displays about giraffe biology and behavior. He showed them pictures from 15 years ago, showing a tiny baby giraffe in the snow, and showing her growth over the years. He showed them pictures of Marcus as a 16-year-old boy, scared and determined, holding a dying animal. "This is where it all began," Marcus said, pointing to a photograph of the old barn. "In this barn, a boy made a decision. He decided that love was more important than fear. He decided that one life mattered. And that decision changed everything." The young people listened with wonder in their eyes. They understood that they were standing in a place where something sacred had happened. They understood that they were in the presence of a legacy that had touched the world. Later that afternoon, there was a ceremony. Marcus's mother stood on the stage. She was older now, her hair gray, but her eyes were still bright and full of love. She talked about the boy that Marcus had been, about how sad he was after his father died, about how she had worried about him. And then one day, everything changed, his mother said, her voice shaking with emotion. He found hope, and hope saved him just as much as he saved her. She gave him a reason to live, a reason to believe in himself, a reason to care about something bigger than his own sadness. I am so proud of the man my son has become. I am so grateful to Hope for loving him when he needed love most. Marcus's eyes filled with tears as he listened to his mother speak. That evening, after all the visitors had left, Marcus sat alone with Hope. He had done this thousands of times over the years. It was his favorite part of each day. This moment of quiet, of peace, of connection with the animal that had changed his life. "We did it, Hope," he whispered. "We actually did it. We changed the world." Marcus thought about his father, about how his father had always believed that one person could make a difference. For years after his father's death, Marcus had not believed that. He had thought that he was too small, too ordinary, too powerless to change anything. But he had been wrong. One decision, made in a moment of compassion, had rippled out into the world. One boy's love for one animal had inspired thousands of people to care about conservation. Millions of animals had been saved because Marcus had saved Hope. Entire ecosystems were being protected because Marcus had spoken up and demanded change. Marcus understood now that his father had been right. One person could change the world. It did not require being rich or famous or powerful. It only required having a heart that was willing to love and a will that was strong enough to follow through, no matter what the cost. Hope lived for 5 more years after that official ceremony. When she finally passed away at the age of 25, the entire world mourned. News outlets reported her death. People who had grown up hearing about Hope shared stories about how she had changed their lives. Children who had never even seen Hope in person wrote letters about how much she had meant to them. But Marcus did not feel sadness when Hope died. He felt gratitude. He felt joy. He felt like the circle had been completed. Hope had lived a long, healthy, loved life. She had brought joy and inspiration to millions of people. She had done exactly what she was meant to do. And in the years that followed, the sanctuary continued to grow. The education center became one of the most important wildlife conservation facilities in the world. Young people came from everywhere to study and work there. They carried Hope's message forward. They carried Marcus's message forward. That message was simple but powerful. Love matters. Compassion matters. One person can change the world. And it all began with a boy in the snow who could not turn away from something that needed help. It all began with a decision to say yes to Hope, even when hope seemed impossible. It all began with one act of love that proved to the world that miracles are real and that the greatest miracles come from the human heart.